Quadrats is a method of estimating the population density of a species within a habitat or an ecosystem. You sample randomly selected zones within a habitat or ecosystem, add up the total number of the selected species, and divide it by the number of quadrats multiplied by the area of the quadrats. This will give you how many organisms there are to a square meter, which is the population density. This method can be used to estimate the relative abundance of a species within an ecosystem, or to compare it to the relative abundance of a species within two or more ecosystems. It can even be used to compare different species within the same ecosystem. However, Quadrats does not always work for clump species. For example, animals. It works more effectively for species that are naturally spread out, like many kinds of plants. Start by selecting an ecosystem or a habitat. I'm using the hill behind GSIS as my habitat. You can find a habitat on a map or on Google Earth. I used Google Earth. If you use Google Earth, be sure to use the measuring tools to create a scale bar before you mark your quadrats, and of course, print your map and scale bar. Use the map and scale bar to divide the area into quadrats. The size of the quadrat should be relative to the organisms being counted. For example, if you're counting trees, you'll need a bigger quadrat than if you were counting grass. Label your quadrats systematically with numbers, and then use a random number generator, maybe find it on the internet, to pick the quadrats you'll sample from. The number of quadrats you should sample from should also be relative to the size of your habitat or ecosystem. Be sure to mark the quadrats you're going to sample from on your map, then head out to count your species. Measure out your quadrats according to their size and placement on your map. My quadrats are 4 by 4 meters square. Be sure to decide what to do about organisms that are half in your quadrat before you start counting so that you can count systematically. It doesn't matter if you decide to count the trees that are half in or half out, just continue to count the same way every time. Count your species and record your data in a lab book. Make sure you take pictures of the species you're counting so that you can identify them later, or take a local flora and fauna guide with you. Once you've counted all your species in your habitat or habitats, and taken all the pictures you need for identification, it's time to head back and calculate the population density of your species. To calculate the population density of your species, add up the total number of your species from all the quadrats in the ecosystem or habitat, then divide it by the number of quadrats times the area of the quadrats. Not the accumulated area of the quadrats, just the average area, which should be easy because they should all be the same size. This will give you the number of individuals per square meter. You can use this population density of your species to compare to other species, or the same species in different habitats.